Hi, and Merry Christmas, if you're watching this during the Christmas time, and if not, Merry Christmas in July. Because as crafters, we do tend to make things for Christmas in July. We have to get ahead of the game. There's just not enough time in December to make all of the things that we would like to make. One of the things I've been making a lot of the last couple years is lace decoration that can go on my tree or on my curtains or a pin that I can put on my clothing. And machine embroidery enthusiasts have come up with a way to mimic the hand crocheted and hand tatting ornaments that our grandmas and great grandmas used to make. In the embroidery world, it is called freestanding lace, meaning it can be stitched out on a stabilizer, a water-soluble stabilizer, and then when the water-soluble stabilizer is dissolved away, it can stand on its own. It doesn't need to be stitched on fabric. And there are some wonderful freestanding lace ornaments out there. This year, I've been making a few. Here's an example of one. All it is thread, but the way the stitches are put down, the thread holds itself together. It's stiff because I've left a little of the stabilizer in it when I've washed it, but it mimics the crochet doilies that my grandma used to make. It feels a lot like the crochet doilies, but this is all done in a computerized embroidery machine, a sewing machine basically, that is designed to create embroideries. Last year, I made a number of them, these little snowflakes, and I attached, figuring out where the camera is, there we go, I attached tie tack pins to the back of them. So these little snowflakes can easily be attached to my sweater, and now I have a snowflake on my sweater. But sometimes we have designs that, like this one here, that we aren't sure if they're freestanding lace. Maybe they're just a lace pattern, although this one did have the ability to have a hanger on it. Oops, there's my phone ringing. Although they are designed for freestanding lace, sometimes we're not too sure, or it's a design that's only supposed to be stitched out on fabric, and we're like, oh, but that would be so pretty if I could have it as freestanding lace. Embroidery designs, no matter how dense they are, need to have something that holds them together. Freestanding lace has been designed with layers overlapping to hold them together when the stabilizer is removed. But you can mimic freestanding lace by using something called organza. And if we use a synthetic organza as opposed to a cotton organza or a silk organza, it's really easy to cut them out so that they are freestanding. So this design, I'll bring it up close. This design is just a bunch of words put around in a circle. One of the ladies that teaches the Embrilliance Software came up with this, what they call it, name flakes. And last year I made a bunch of these. They're just embroidered words in a circle, stitched on organza. I made the effort and put a piece of organza on the back so that it's a little bit covered, but it can hold up because it's on the organza fabric. That fabric is holding it together. But you could also take a bear. So as long as it has a fabric to be stitched on, it's going to hold together when you cut it out, because that fabric holds the embroidery. But that can now be hung on the tree. Here's another one I did last year. I made the effort to change the bobbin thread so the back mirrors the front, matches. But it is organza that is holding this design together. So one of the things this year is a lot of people have been asking, how do you do freestanding lace? But how do you take non-freestanding lace designs and turn them into an ornament? So this is what I just stitched out. Whoops, let me turn it. Nope, that's the way we want it. Okay, and it is on organza. The deer is actually digitized to be freestanding lace, but the wreath is not. You can see It's on water-soluble stabilizer. That's what this is. And this shiny bit is the organza. And it's really simple. Normally I would take the time to wash out the water-soluble stabilizer. It makes it a little bit easier. But to show today, I'm going to leave it in. It can be done with it in. It just is going to get a little gummy. Okay, so if we take this design and a heat tool, it's a burning tool that is used to burn designs into a wood, and so they're called a burning tool. You can come in, and just to show you on the piece of organza, it cuts, it burns right through. So if you take the burning tool, okay, figure out how I can do this so that camera. If you take the burning tool right along the outside edge of your design, in this case the wreath, it's going to burn. And you can basically cut out come in here, close, your design. And so a design that is not meant to be done as freestanding lace can become now a lacy type ornament. I'm going to go wash out this stabilizer, finish cutting it out, and then I'll be back with you. I'm back, and I am just at the last end of cutting out the rest of this design. As the artist here, I get to decide how close or how much detail I want to cut out of the organza, how much I want to be by itself. It's really up to you, the person who's doing the stitching. I'm not going to go terribly close to, well, actually, now that I'm saying it, I'm going to come in and separate the bow just a little bit. If it gets a little floppy, I can always restarch it. Some leftover water-soluble stabilizer dissolved in a bowl, soak the ornament again, and it works wonderfully well. Two tips that I have for people who are doing this for the first time, who aren't accustomed. I always keep a wet paper towel nearby, and I keep some sandpaper. Whatever sandpaper you can find on hand. I think it's a fairly fine grit sandpaper that I'm using. I just raided my husband's workshop. And I keep that sandpaper on hand because melting plastic on a burning tool, and that's basically what you're doing with the organza, the burning tool can get a little gummy, and so I will clean it with a bit of sandpaper. You just want to be really careful because this is very, very hot. It's not something to leave out when you have kids or if you have pets, but it's a fabulous tool, and it takes and cuts around. And I may have to do a little tiny bit of cleanup. There's a couple things you can do. You can melt the organza down a little bit closer. I was a little sloppy because I was rushed. But you can go over it. Again, melt down any of the organza that shows. You can also, if need be, at the very end, take a permanent marker to it. But usually just going along, you can clean up the little bits of melted plastic just a tiny bit more when you're not looking at a camera. But there you have it, an organza ornament with embroidery that's not designed to stand on its own. It needs the fabric. It's a simple project. And as I said, you can make pins and buttons and all sorts of things out of it. I hang these actually on my curtains behind my Christmas tree. That way when the curtains are drawn, closed, they still, you know, the house still looks like there's snow falling. So, that's the quick little tip. I hope that it inspires you to try. If you don't have an embroidery machine, you probably haven't watched this all the way to the end. But there are probably other ways without an embroidery machine you can use the organza. And now you know, if it's synthetic organza, it can be burned. And there you have it. I hope you have a Merry Christmas. I hope this inspires you, and thank you for joining me for this very quick tutorial on freestanding lace and organza with unwinding with fiber and fabrics. We'll see you soon.